Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god! What is that?
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Ty, and today in this video we're going to be talking about the MCU's brand new show that just finished, Secret Invasion. Listen, guys, this video that you're watching right now is my 30th video, but in my other 29 videos, I've always tried to remain professional and use advanced vocabulary and all that to try to make my reviews better. But today, as the title suggests, I just need to rant, okay? This is going to be unprofessional, raw, and that might be a good thing because I think you're going to see the most personality out of me that you have since I started my channel. So, if you're new here, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about Secret Invasion? Because, see, this is the thing. Let's just get this started, okay? The MCU is my bread and butter. It's the franchise that I love the most, that I am the most knowledgeable about. And yeah, I love a ton of different franchises, IPs, whatever you want to say. But the MCU is just the one that I hold closest to my heart. However, I'm not just some blind fan. I criticize it when criticism is due. 100%. I am well aware of all the problems it's had, especially over the course of Phase 4, even into Phase 5. Secret Invasion bothered me so much. It started off nice, then as things went on, it just got worse and worse and worse and turned into the same generic mistakes and generic show that all the other ones have been up to this point. I'm so sick and tired of Marvel repeating the same mistakes. It's like a broken record. And the thing is, they're losing so much money from it that usually money talks with companies. Yeah, I know that fans are always like, oh, we want this, but then a big company will do something else and it'll make them $1 billion. Yeah, they're going to do the thing that makes them $1 billion over what the fans just want. Guys, they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars and still not listening to the fans, which would probably make them more money. So guys, listen, let's just start with, or maybe we could just say a light review of the show. I would give this show probably a 4 out of 10. I think it's the second worst Marvel show behind She-Hulk, okay? She-Hulk is an outlier. I think it's absolutely terrible. I do think that there is a pretty big gap between She-Hulk and Secret Invasion, and Secret Invasion is a little bit closer to the other shows. However, I just am so unbelievably taken back by the direction this show went on as things started to go. So, just to be clear, I watched the first episode of the show the day it came out. But then after that, I just was not interested. I skipped week 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then I binged episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then I watched the finale on the day it released. Guys, it's not like there was some crazy cliffhanger, so I don't think I really missed that much. But I just don't really understand how you could start at such a good point, because I actually think the first episode was good, but it just didn't really hook me, and I figured, I'll just review it at the end of the show. It doesn't really matter. And that's the first time I've had this happen. When Moon Knight was coming out, I was staying up sometimes if I had nothing to do, till 3 in the morning to watch the episodes live, because they were so intriguing, and I was so excited to see what's going on with Mark Spector and all these interesting characters, because it was so interesting. There's just 2 words that I'm really sick and tired of hearing from, I guess you could say, other reviewers. And this isn't a slight at all to other reviewers. It's just something I'm tired of hearing that Marvel keeps making mistakes of. That is potential and, what's the other word? Potential and what could have been, okay? Those are the 2 things that I'm always hearing. Oh, this show had potential. This movie had potential, but it flopped. That's how they'll always go about things. I'm tired of getting potential. Stop giving me good concepts, shows with ideas that have potential, and then making them terrible in execution. Just give me a good show that's executed well. Why is it that HBO Max is able to do 6 or 8 episode series, and they're critically acclaimed, everyone's loving them, and also they're based off of source material, like The Last of Us, but Marvel can't do the same thing, because technically Marvel shows are based off source material as well. Comics. I know they're not one-to-one exactly, but I just don't know how you could fumble this many times. This is the thing. When we're talking about grounded MCU shows, right? Another one I could relate Secret Invasion to is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I understand that not everyone loves that show. Maybe it's kind of like in the middle of the pack for everyone. And yeah, I could agree on that. I guess that it's pretty good, but it's not that bad. It's just kind of lingering in mediocrity. There's only one thing. When your second show that you're trying, and it's new because all you've been making is movies for 15 years, when the second show that you've made is like, okay, that's fine, because you're just starting to learn, and maybe you could learn from your mistakes. But when your 10th show is bad, I can't give you any type of redemption. How is it that you're still making the same mistakes 10 shows later? What are those mistakes, you might be asking? First of all, you start off with a good first episode. That's not a mistake, but that's just how things go. Nice. You kind of hook me a little bit. Then we just linger in the middle. You know, some stuff happens. Maybe one interesting thing happens, like in episode 4, because I know a lot of good things have happened in the 4th episode of the shows. Then it'll just be a rushed, terrible finale. Every show, it's the same thing over and over and over. How do you make the same mistakes 10 times? 10 times. I'm not saying that all the Disney Plus shows are bad. Some of them are pretty good, like Loki and Moon Knight. I thought they were good. But even the best MCU show, I still can give the same criticism of, I just don't know if it reached its full potential. I think it could have been better. Loki, its finale maybe was a little bit talkative. Even though I did like Loki. I really liked it. I thought it was good. But I just don't know, again, the 10th time around, how you could be making the same mistakes. And also, just to move into something else now, this show cost Disney, Marvel, whatever, $217 million to make. $217 million for one of the most mediocre, boring, bland shows I have ever seen. This is coming from a die-hard Marvel fan that would rather praise them than give them criticism. What in this show cost them $217 million? I feel like half the show, right off the bat, half the show, was just people sitting in rooms having conversations. Okay. Oppenheimer was just made for $100 million. Yes, plus marketing, but also Secret Invasion probably had marketing on top of that. So we'll just say maybe double the budget or like just add another $100 million to each of those numbers. How is it that this show cost so much? I can't picture Samuel L. Jackson demanded that much money. On top of that, it's not like this is a long show like we're making Breaking Bad over here. It's 6 episodes, but the first 2 episodes are each like about an hour. The third one's 45 minutes. Then the last 3 are like a half hour. So it's like 4 hours of content compared to Oppenheimer's 3 hours. But it cost over double, really? And just to be clear, I wasn't the biggest fan of Oppenheimer, but I can safely say it was a better movie than Secret Invasion was a show. On top of that, moving on to the next thing is, we're just rolling here. This show just looked very cheap. It felt like a Disney Channel. It felt like I was watching Hannah Montana at certain points. Literally, some of these practical effects, because this is the thing, when it comes to the Skrulls, right? Sometimes it's clear that they're prosthetics, and they look kind of shiny and like, yeah, I guess they're real, but it just looks like I'm watching a Broadway play. But then it'll switch to CGI, and even the CGI just looks bad. I don't know where this money was allocated, and who was working on this stuff, and who thought, oh yeah, this looks good. This is gonna, be put onto Disney Plus, one of the biggest streaming services out there, and also put under the label of one of the biggest the biggest superhero company, Marvel. And we're just going to roll with it. How is this acceptable? Did anyone watch this and say, wait, guys, we should touch this stuff up? A lot of the action sequences looked very cheap. They looked, either like they're in slow motion or just things look off. The way they're shot, it's weird. It's gimmicky. Can you guys just get creative people in here? Because clearly other studios have the most creative people on earth because they're making banger shows. There's also another thing that bothered me. The finale. Honestly, I'm going to save the finale for the finale of this video. But that was truly the last straw for me. Even up to episode 5, I was like, okay, but maybe in the finale they'll wrap things up nicely. But they didn't. Moving on to the next topic. because I just have so much to say, and it's just so frustrating. I hope you guys can understand, and I hope this is enjoyable for you. I brought this up before. I mentioned it earlier. The runtime. The first episode of this show was like 55 minutes. Okay, nice. It's like a solid hour. Obviously, there's credits, so maybe it's like 50 minutes. The second episode was 55 minutes. Nice. We're getting some like long quality episodes, and I didn't really love the second episode. Quite honestly, I could almost barely remember what happened from episode 2 to 5, because then we have, the intro episode, the finale, and then everything in the middle. Kind of all meshes together in my head, but whatever. I'll get to that in a minute. Then episode 3 was 45. I was like, okay, 45 minutes. We're just taking a little step down. It's okay. That's understandable. Episode 4, 35 minutes. Or 38 minutes, whatever. Now we're only getting a half hour after credits when we were getting 50 minutes before. Okay. Then episode 5 and episode 6 were also both 38 minutes. So we went from an hour, 45 minutes, half hour, half hour, half hour. So we're just declining. We're rushing the show as it goes on. Wouldn't it be better, if anything, like I'm talking worst case scenario, to have the show start off short and then maybe the episodes get longer and we have like an hour-long finale? Does that make sense? Like, yeah, we just have a little intro, kind of hook you, then things kind of get longer as we go on. But instead, this is what we get, a rushed finale. Do you know how many rushed finales we've had? Probably 10. If I'm being real, I think all the Disney Plus finales have been rushed. Quickly, let's go over them. Moon Knight, in the middle of the fight, he like has that pass out thing, wakes up, and he beat the villain. That's pretty garbage in my opinion. In the Loki season finale, they kind of just had a conversation for a half hour. And like, I get it because they were introducing Kang, but it still felt a little bit rushed. Okay, moving on. Hawkeye. They had this somewhat laughable, and I actually liked Hawkeye, but like archery battle with guys with guns that I thought could pretty much just shoot them at any moment, but it felt rushed. And on top of that, the whole Kingpin like battle thing where he's just beating the life out of Kate Bishop, but she's just like, okay. And also Kingpin like gets destroyed, but he's also okay. Like, I just don't understand the power levels. She-Hulk. I don't even want to talk about the finale. It was atrocious. What else? Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We have our "you have to do better, Senator" speech, which also felt rushed because then you have the whole things with like Sharon and God. Like, I just don't know how many series, like the fact that I'm actually able to come up with this many talking points about each individual show, which costs God knows how much money, is such a joke to me. We're going to move on to the next thing here. The whole Rhodey is a Skrull thing. Guys, just from its initial conception, Secret Invasion, even though it did have like an initial, interesting idea behind it, I don't think anyone's like, wow, I just can't wait to see Skrulls in the MCU. Why? Because the only movie they've been in is in Captain Marvel. And guess what? Captain Marvel, a lot of people hate that movie. I think it's like a 7 out of 10. I don't think it's as bad as everyone says. But no one really cares about the Skrulls. No one really cares about Talos, who came back from Captain Marvel and is now in this show. Spoiler alert, he died, and I don't think I really cared about it. I just don't really understand the whole Rhodey to Skrull thing, because apparently he's been a Skrull since Civil War, but they didn't make it clear whether it was from Civil War or after Endgame. Running through both scenarios quickly, let's just say it was after Endgame. Okay, that's kind of an interesting concept because now it's just like a new saga, and it's like, oh, Rhodey's kind of close to the president, like this show dove into, and he could kind of use his political power to try to influence certain things. That's kind of what the show went into. But if he's been a Skrull since Civil War, that means that he didn't see Tony die. All this other stuff, basically, it was never even Rhodey. A character that for, well, up to Civil War, 2 phases we've been dealing with and enjoying and, having a good time with. But it wasn't Rhodey in Phase 3. So everything he was in, Infinity War, Endgame, it just wasn't him. And now you're taking away that emotional connection and it was just some alien? That's it? And then that alien, by the way, just got shot in the head. That's it. That's our conclusion. Real creative, guys. That was a really nice way to damage, a character that we've had. See, this is the thing. Marvel's been doing a really bad job with all these projects and all these shows and all the movies, everything. The thing is, at least if the new stuff is bad, it doesn't hurt the old stuff, right? We could always look back on phases 1, 2, and 3 and say, wow, those were 3 amazing sagas that end perfectly with Endgame. But now, when you introduce these new ideas that like Rhodey was always a Skrull, that actually hurts phase 3. Now you're going against something that all the fans love, and you're hurting something in the past. Listen, if you want to screw up your own brand new show, fine, be my guest and make it trash. But don't try to hurt something that we already love, an already great project, like Endgame, Civil War. Why would you go back and damage that? Because now apparently it wasn't Rhodey. So, but also it wasn't even clear in the show. I don't know. Something about like the director like cleared it up that it was Rhodey. Or I didn't really read too deeply into it, but yeah, it just doesn't make sense that now you're going to go back and hurt things that we've already loved. Cool. So now you're damaging your good stuff instead of just damaging the new bad stuff that you're making. Great. I think it's time, guys, to talk about the finale. I've been dying to talk about this. I have been absolutely dying to talk about this finale. I swear. I mean, I know I've said this already. It was rushed. Yes. It had an interesting concept of how Skrulls are invading the world, and Gravik, for some reason, wants to kill the Skrulls, and his plan was super dumb and confusing, especially towards the end. Then we get this MacGuffin with the Harvest, which apparently has all the superheroes' DNA in it, even though I don't know how DNA could be like mixed up in like one liquid. And then I also don't understand how this liquid could just be put into you. And then if you have their DNA, that also gives you the powers. I don't know if that's been established in the MCU already, but I've been a fan for years now, and I never heard anything about that. But we'll just look past that. All of a sudden, we have Gaia, Emilia Clarke, the poster child of this show, because, hey, guys, look, Marvel got an A-list actor in their show. You should watch it. All of a sudden, Gaia's pretending to be Nick Fury. So Nick Fury, by the way, doesn't even get his chance to have, like, a meaningful conversation with Gravik, because it wasn't even Nick Fury. That hurts the finale. Nice. Then, Gaia gets the powers or whatever from the Harvest. And now Gaia and Gravik have their fight with the powers. Okay. Gravik dies to Gaia. Okay. Now Gaia's alive. Cool. She survived. But there's only one thing I forgot to mention. Now, Gaia's just alive in the MCU. Cool. She's just another superhero. But guess what? She's easily, by far, the most overpowered superhero we have ever seen in the MCU, besides maybe a Celestial or like Thanos with the Infinity Stones. Captain Marvel is already a pretty overpowered character, but at least she does have maybe some of her limits, like she could be fought back by like Wanda or something, or we saw in Endgame, like Thanos kind of like got her with the Power Stone. But she has Captain Marvel, plus Hulk, plus the Winter Soldier, plus Captain America, plus Drax, plus Mantis. Do I need to keep going? How would you think making such an overpowered character in the MCU would be a good idea? Do you know why this is such a terrible thing? Because now, no matter what project I watch in the future, no matter what it is, if it's the next Captain America movie, if it's The Marvels, all I'm going to be thinking about is, wow, why don't they just call Gaia? Why doesn't Gaia just come here and just beat everyone up? Because guess what? She can. She could beat the life out of anybody. Because she's so damn overpowered. And it's not like maybe at the end of the show, like the serum that she had like wore off and like the powers went away. And also the serum went away, like the Harvest. And now nobody can use it. No, she just has those powers now. And this just felt like Marvel doing a cash grab and being like, hey guys, look, we have an A-list actor and now she's going to be in the MCU as like this overpowered hero. Just to be clear, I don't think this is some problem with like trying to have a strong female character, anything like that. I love strong female characters when they're written well. I think that's great. This just feels like it wasn't even earned because she almost had like what feels like 10 minutes of screen time throughout this whole show. And yeah, she was important, but also I think she was underdeveloped, which also has to do with having this show be too short. I just don't know why the MCU even just needs another hero. We have so many heroes as it is, and now we're just throwing in another one that on top of that is so overpowered. So it's like a lose-lose. And then, guys, I think there's one thing I forgot to mention. One thing I forgot to mention that kind of ties into the finale and the whole superhero thing. Because, of course, we need to finish with a big superhero battle at the end where people are just punching each other and stuff. Also, the CGI looked absolutely terrible in that fight. So I just want to make that clear, too. There's one thing. There's this whole thing where in the beginning of the show, maybe episodes 2 or 3, Nick Fury says, well, he has a conversation with someone, and they're saying, hey, why don't you just call the Avengers to solve this? Because, guys, guess what? The Skrulls are gonna, like, literally end the world. He's like, nah, this is like a personal battle. I don't want to. So, you're letting your own pride overtake the fact that the world might literally end if you don't stop this? And also, him saying that means that he actually does have the power to call the Avengers. If Nick Fury was like, oh, I don't know where everybody is right now, which would make sense because I feel like everyone is kind of scattered, it would be like, okay, that makes sense. But him just saying, nah, like, I don't want to call anyone. This is a personal battle. This is on me. I got to fix this. That makes his character look worse. That makes him look selfish. And that makes him look almost, I don't want to say power hungry, but almost like greedy and narcissistic. Like, I could do it. But I'm not going to call the superpowered Avengers. What? Speaking of superpowered, the fact that the Skrulls can just take over anybody they want, their looks and their, like, mind is another overpowered thing. Because at least when you're comparing this to, like, Winter Soldier, which it was initially compared to before the show came out, and that's why I was actually excited for Secret Invasion, I was kind of like, oh, maybe you can, like, try to figure out who a Skrull is or whatever. In Winter Soldier, there's just humans lying to each other. Humans aren't always the best liars. So maybe you could try to tell, oh, who's lying, who's not. In Captain America the Winter Soldier, when we're in the elevator and we start to get that battle, before anything happens, he realizes, wait, these guys are with Hydra. Because he looks and he sees the guy sweating, and then they're like having this awkward conversation. It clicks. Wait, these are actually bad guys. You're able to see flaws in humans. The Skrulls have no flaws. It's just a random guessing game of like, I literally have no idea if you're a Skrull unless I kill you. What? So what if you just kill somebody and then they're not a Skrull? Then you just killed a human. And even if you kill them and they are a Skrull, it's like, okay, what if that wasn't a Skrull though? And you just killed a human? What? They have all the information in their heads. Guys, this was really frustrating for me because now it just brings me down. I don't know how many chances I could give the MCU before I just say, I'm calling it quits. I don't want to say as a fan because that does hurt me to say. I just really loved Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I don't know how many passes I can give them. I've been giving them passes for like 2 years. It's like miss after miss after miss. DJ Khaled, man, just another one. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't know how you could waste this much money. And Disney is feeling the ramifications of this, though. I see that they might either get sold or they're going to start selling other stuff. But how about you just get some creative people in there and just make a good product? How hard is that? Looking forward, we have The Marvels, which I am barely excited for. Captain America, guess what? I'm really not that excited for it because they got like some rookie director in there that I think directed like a Cloverfield movie. I mean, okay, I guess, but he didn't really do anything else besides that. And also they're introducing the Hulk stuff, which I'm not a fan of because of whether it's She-Hulk or just the fact that I'm not really a fan of Hulk in general as a superhero. So then we're also going to Deadpool 3, which is going to be all multiversal. But after Doctor Strange and after No Way Home, the way they handled the multiverse, I'm just afraid to see if they're going to either have consistency or if they're just going to screw it all up and just make it stupid. I'm just not looking forward to anything. And this brings me down to one thing. One thing that genuinely, this is really going to make me sound nerdy, genuinely in the bottom of my heart makes me upset. And I really do mean this. I'm just not excited for the next Avengers movie. And that's such a bold statement because you should always be excited for Avengers movies. I became a fan during the pandemic in 2020. If I'm going to be honest with you, I've already said this on my channel, one of my first videos. The MCU kind of brought me out of like a tough time, man, in my life. And I was at a really low point, and I was just watching all these movies, all these shows. Well, not the shows, but because the shows were just coming out. All these movies for the first time. And it was really exciting to just watch that next movie. And over the course of like 2 months, because there's like a ton of movies, I finally got to Endgame. And it was such a thrilling experience. But like I said, since I started in 2020, I've never gotten to witness an Avengers movie in the theater. I'm thankful that I got to see No Way Home, an amazing, monumental movie. I'm thankful I got to see Guardians 3. But the fact that I'm never going to get to see a good Avengers movie kind of makes me upset. And the fact that I'm not even really excited between whether it's the Kang stuff with Jonathan Majors having all this controversy, who knows if he's going to get recast or whatever, and the fact that our lineup might just be super weak and characters I just don't care about, that honestly makes me upset. And if the story's good and maybe things turn around miraculously, great. But guys, I'm just really not excited for the future of the MCU right now, and we're probably at our lowest point we've ever been at. I said that when we were with She-Hulk, but I don't even think I realized how low we actually were, because we could stoop lower, and by stooping lower, that's getting Ant-Man, and then Guardians, which honestly is barely even an MCU movie. Let's just be real. It's just a James Gunn movie in the MCU. Then Secret Invasion. It's just so sad where we're going with the MCU. And at the same time, it's making me actually really excited for the DCU. DC I've never been a fan of. I've always kind of hated on them. I'm sorry, but it's just true. It's just kind of funny to do because the DCU has always been such a massive failure. But I'm so excited to see what the DCU does because I love James Gunn. He always made good movies with Marvel. But guys, yeah, I'm getting a little bit off track here. I think that's going to end it for today. But if I just want to leave off with one message, it's that I don't understand why they can't just get good, creative, talented writers. And I know there's the writer's strike, but I'm not talking about that. Just in these movies, and I wish they would just take their time and do it, maybe a little bit of what the fans want, and just try to write some type of compelling story instead of just trying to set up the next movie or trying to, send some message or something. Just worry about making a good story, because in the words of James Gunn, he said this in the DCU plan video, whatever you want to call it, storytelling is king. If you have a good story, you're going to be just fine. So yeah, guys, thank you for coming to my rant today. I really appreciate you watching. If you like this type of video, I'd love to hear down in the comments that you enjoyed it. But yeah, that's all. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.